not good. It's only a ½ inch out in 4 feet.
½ inch and 4 feet.
Yeah.
So is it leaning down or running down like you thought, or is it going?
It's actually running up.
Huh.
Level would be lower out here on the end than it is.
So they kind of built it in such a way that it was. So these structures are higher than they should be when they cut them.
Yeah. They're and over 5.5, almost 6 feet. It's almost 3/4 of an inch higher out here than it is at the ledger.
Okay. All right. So next we're going to talk about the
The
outside and the eaves. So we've got this.
Yeah, I would. Oh, the drip edge.
The
It's
drip.
because they cut the roofing short.
They cut the roofing short here, so they put the drip edge on because it was,
Well,
or it was too long there probably.
No, the problem is that the roof they framed here,
Uh-huh.
because they cared so little about leveling and setting it. This little tiny piece of roof, 1/4 of either side of your upper roof,
Yep.
is so out of square that the same length pieces as here that are hanging over 1.5 inches are flush back here. So this roof runs 1.5 inches longer from your house to the end than does this end of that roof, that same piece of roof.
And so they had to put this drip edge over to protect the
To
wood.
keep the water from lipping up underneath it and ruining your roof. Yes. That's how far they missed. It runs out 1.5 inches over the width of the front of the house.
Okay.
Yeah.
So in addition, just cosmetic stuff, you can see that they ran out of this fascia. What did they call this? A fascia?
Yes.
For the soffit.
Right. No. Well, the other problem is that the roof, the sheeting, should have stopped short of the fascia, and now the reason they can't go all the way up with your fascia and put it where it belongs is they've run into the roof sheeting because.
So anyways, so we have this piece right here that looks different than the rest, and rather than going to the same supplier and picking up a piece of
The same
trim, the metal trim that covered the 2x4, they went to a different supplier and just got a straight piece. And what they said when I asked them.
The other problem is it starts at the proper height here. It goes all the way up to the sheeting.
Right.
And if you look over here, it runs downhill by over 1 inch. So the eave is actually exposed here because it runs downhill. And if you look up under here, the soffit is the same inch away from the trim because it hangs so low.
Right. And then you can see here where they put in some soffit pieces that were cut short.
Right.
And that aren't.
The cut, yeah.
They're at times they fall down here if you're not careful. You know, we've caught it like this and had to push it back up and try to push it in place. But so.
Yeah, but you can see here how far down the
metal is
the
here.
trim runs.
And so that has led to some issues here with, you know, trying to get the boards in place so that we can have a straight looking line.
Well, the carpenter bees and ants are just going to eat the soffit apart because it's exposed. The bugs will, you know, the termite, everything will get right in it. There's no way to keep them out. So the wasps and everything are going to get in here, build nests.
And that won't. What the builder said to me is that you're gonna put gutters on it, aren't you?
That'll cover.
so it would cover this smooth piece, and he said you wouldn't be able to tell it apart from this decorative piece.
It's a completely different color.
Yeah, so
not even the same color.
So you have this decorative going to the smooth, and his answer to why you did this, he said, well, I ran out. and you're going to have gutters on it anyways, right? And so that was acceptable to him. Instead of asking me or going to the same supplier and making it look right, he just
It's the same supplier as Menards, and it's the easiest one to find in town. I know.
although he said it's they're very difficult to deal with. Gotta wait a long time for him to find their stuff.
Yeah. Well,
Here's another thing that he did. All of this soffit material I had ordered, and I'd given him a supply list. I had ordered metal soffit pieces here that were to go around the whole house, and already had that on the supply list. And he went out and bought this vinyl soffit stuff as a means to put it up, because Menards didn't give it to him, or he didn't do an inventory. But you can see, if you look down this here,
bold, yeah.
look at this piece right here. It's just hanging over the edge, and that's why they did that drip line. But when you
cover the mess they made.
look at it out here, we're gonna put gutters up, but like he said, that's not gonna keep bugs from getting inside that
nesting
roof.
And yeah, you're gonna have wasps, carpenter bees, and wasps will take over your
the structure, and possibly termites, I suppose, can get up there.
Yeah, the carpenter bees will love that.
And so if you look down the length of this, you can also see some
buckled.
pretty poor work, in the sense that, like you said, there's buckles in the fascia.
You stay there, I'll hit it.
That piece that he's going to, he's pointing to it right now, there's a buckle that is just not connected right there well. And if you look up here on top, they just slapped together this cupola on top, and you can see the buckles in the
where they crushed it
in the sheeting or in the base. And his answer to me was that the supplier didn't provide a thick enough gauge metal for the base, and that was the reason that it buckled.
But he forgot to build a base for it. It has to have a framed base.
Yeah, it's called the curb.
Yeah, curb.
And that kit came with instructions on how to build a curb for
I know, right?
for this structure at a 512 pitch and other similar pitches.
Mm-hmm.
So you have that, and it's buckled all the way around because they didn't build a curb. When I talked to him about it, he said
it was Menard's fault.
Yeah, said it was Menard's fault, but when I said no, I think it's your fault, he said that he never included the cupola in the bid, and that he's not responsible for it, which is kind of bogus, and considering that I gave him a materials list from the very beginning that included a cupola, talked to him about the roof. With a cupola. He said that the cupola, when they picked up the materials, they couldn't find the cupola, so we had to reorder it, special order. And I said, well, do you want to wait before putting up the roof and get the cupola so that you can incorporate that? And he said, no, it won't be a big deal. We can just put it on after the fact. And you can see what they did after the fact. They just slapped it up there over top of everything without a curb. So. And now over here towards this corner, you can see that soffit there is kind of not. It looks like it's kind of leaning downward. It's not level.
Right.
So as it comes off the 18-inch overhang here, and you look at this,
the metal.
they didn't trim the metal in line with the roof, and his reasoning for not trimming the metal. You can see the ridges there. He said that if they trimmed the metal, then the end ridge cap would fall on top of that first ridge, and possibly be a problem with that. And again, Menards has instructions that shows people like me who don't know much about construction the appropriate way to put on the end ridge cap, and the instructions show that should go over top the first main ridge line, and so that it prevents driving rain from going into the soffit material and you know,
Flooding your house.
having trouble with rot and so forth. And so that was his answer, is that there was overhang to the metal. They didn't trim it so that it wouldn't land on top that first ridge. And that was one of the things that I wanted him to fix, you know, to do something about, and when we did the walk around. So this is just from the bottom. I've not been up on the roof to be able to look at what the roof structure is here, but you can see down this line there's
Really bold.
waves and bows, but the overhang too comes from this, coming maybe 3 inches on this side down to maybe an inch on at the front of the house. But you can see it's not very visible from this side, but I'm going to go around to the other side because of the shadows. And this, you can see in the light better here, kind of how the roof kind of waves along, and you can see a wave in the house. I had to pay another person to try to minimize the wave in the house there by truing up the top plate on the top of the where the trusses set on the top plate. Had to put shims in there to try to straighten it up and make it true. But you can still see there's a sag in the roof line there. And if you look down the line here, you can see that it waves and bows. There's not a buckle like the other side, but there are buckles in it that it hasn't been attached well. And can you point to that one right there?
Yeah.
And you can see this one, he'll point to it right there. That piece right there is kind of bowed and buckled, just like the other side. So, is there anything else, Tate, that you see in the house?
With the roof, no.
Okay.
Yeah.
What about the Dutch hip? Anything else that you would want to mention in the
No.
Dutch hip?
No, and it will not be easy to fix, and I think it's become, I don't know, it will be a significant problem.